This module has been developed with the intention that after completing this module, the students will be able to define the terms pollution and pollutants, list the different types of pollution, describe air pollution and the related diseases, describe water pollution and the related diseases, describe soil pollution and the related diseases, and last but not the least, they will be able to explain briefly the measures for prevention and control of pollution. The immediate environment of man is comprised of air, water and soil. All forms of life depend on these three major components of the environment. Pollution in these three components poses a grave threat to human health. There are different types of pollution, that is air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution and radiation pollution, etc. Occupational hazards are also caused due to one's occupation or employment. The agents directly or indirectly responsible for the pollution of the environment are known as pollutants. Large number of people is exposed to environmental pollution as a result of growing number of population, increasing urbanization and industrialization. Exposure to environmental pollution remains a major source of health risk throughout the world. Moreover, it poses continuing risk to health. The risks are generally higher in developing countries. Even in the developed world, mostly among the poorer sections of the community, the environmental pollution persists. Estimates indicate that the proportion of the global burden of disease associated with environmental pollution hazards ranges from 23% to 30%. These estimates include infectious diseases related to drinking water, sanitation and food hygiene, respiratory diseases related to severe indoor air pollution from biomass burning, and vector-borne diseases with a major environmental component such as malaria. However, many of these risks and health effects are readily avoidable. As the impact of human activities and issues of environmental health become increasingly global in scale and extent, the need to recognize and to address the health risk associated with environmental pollution becomes even more urgent. Effective preventive action requires an understanding of the magnitude of the problem, its causes, and underlying processes. Existing knowledge and understanding of the problem helps to target interventions that have greatest effect. However, further research is needed on a range of emerging environmental health issues. What is pollution and what are the pollutants? Pollution may be defined as the contamination of the Earth's environment with materials that interfere with human health, the quality of life, or the natural functioning of ecosystems, that is, living organisms and their physical surroundings. Environmental pollution is mostly caused by human activities. However, some environmental pollution is a result of natural causes such as volcanic eruption. Pollution can take the form of chemical substances or energy such as noise, heat or light. The agents that cause environmental pollution are called pollutants. A pollutant may be defined as a physical, chemical or biological substance unintentionally released into the environment which is directly or indirectly harmful to humans and other living organisms. These contaminants can have direct effects on entire ecosystems, making life more difficult for humans, particularly children and the elderly, plants and animals. What are the types of pollution? Pollution can be air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution, and radiation pollution. In this module, we will mainly focus on air, water and soil pollution and the related diseases. This figure depicts effects of air, water and soil pollution on human health. Coming to air pollution. Air pollution may be defined as the presence of any solid, liquid or gaseous substance including noise and radioactive radiation in the atmosphere in such concentration that may be directly and indirectly injurious to humans or other living organisms, plants, property or interferes with the normal environmental processes. Air pollution can be separated into two categories, that is, outdoor air pollution and indoor air pollution. Outdoor air pollution involves exposures that take place outside of the built environment. Examples of outdoor air pollutants include fine particles produced by the burning of fossil fuels, that is, the coal and the petroleum used in traffic and energy production, noxious gases, that is, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxide, chemical vapors, etc., ground level ozone, which is a reactive form of oxygen and a primary component of urban smog, and tobacco smoke. Indoor air pollution involves exposures to particulates, carbon oxides, and other pollutants carried by indoor air or dust. Examples of indoor air pollutants include gases, carbon monoxide, radon, etc., household products and chemicals, building materials such as asbestos, formaldehyde, lead, allergens such as cockroach and mouse droppings, tobacco smoke, mold, and pollen. In some instances, outdoor air pollution can make its way indoors by way of open windows, doors, ventilation openings, etc. What are the air pollutants? Air pollutants are usually classified into suspended particulate matter, is dust, fumes, mist and smoke, and gaseous pollutants such as gases and vapors like carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, etc. Particulate air pollution is a complex mixture derived from fossil fuel combustion, especially diesel. The particles can have both local and systemic inflammatory effects, suggesting an explanation for their impact on both pulmonary and cardiovascular health. The most hazardous particulate matter or fine particles, that is less than 2.5 microns in diameter, produce a greater inflammatory response per mass than do larger particles. Data suggest that particulate air pollution increases death rates from all causes, especially cardiovascular and respiratory illness. Gaseous pollutants include sulfur compounds such as sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen compounds such as nitric oxide, nitrogen dioxide, and ammonia, organic compounds such as hydrocarbons, volatile organic compounds, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and halogen derivatives such as aldehydes and odorous substances. Oxides of sulfur are resulting from combustion of fossil fuels that are high in sulfur content. Sulfur oxides can induce airway inflammation, possibly increasing the risk of chronic bronchitis as well as inducing bronchoconstriction. Emissions of nitrogen oxides and hydrocarbons react with sunlight to eventually form another secondary pollutant, ozone, at ground level. Ozone at this level creates health concerns. Short-term exposures to ozone can cause dyspnea, chest pain, and airway reactivity. Long-term exposure to ozone produces a small, permanent decrease in lung function. What are the air pollution-related diseases? Air pollutants get in our bodies through the respiratory tract and lungs. However, they can get absorbed in the bloodstream and circulate, affecting various other parts and organs. The most common illnesses are respiratory and lung diseases, including asthma attacks, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or COPD, reduced lung function, pulmonary cancer, mesothelioma, pneumonia, bronchitis, emphysema, leukemia, birth defects and immune system defects, cardiovascular problems, heart diseases and stroke, neurobehavioral disorders, liver and other types of cancers, and premature death. This table shows effects of air pollution on human health. Ozone decreases lung function and causes respiratory symptoms such as coughing and shortness of breath, aggravates asthma and other lung diseases, leading to increased medication use, hospital admissions, emergency department visits, and premature mortality. Particulate matter. Short-term exposure to particulate matter can aggravate heart or lung diseases leading to symptoms, increased medication use, hospital admissions, emergency department visits, and premature mortality. Long-term exposures can lead to the development of heart or lung disease and premature mortality. Late damages the developing nervous system, resulting in IQ loss and impacts on learning, memory, and behavior in children. Respiratory and renal effects in adults and early effects related to anemia. Oxides of sulfur aggravate asthma, leading to wheezing, chest tightness, and shortness of breath. Increased medication use, hospital admissions, and emergency department visits. Very high levels can cause respiratory symptoms in people without lung disease. Oxides of nitrogen aggravate lung diseases, leading to respiratory symptoms, hospital admissions, and emergency department visits. Increased susceptibility to respiratory infection. Carbon monoxide reduces the amount of oxygen reaching the body's organs and tissues, aggravates heart disease, resulting in chest pain and other symptoms, leading to hospital admissions and emergency department visits. Ammonia contributes to particle formation with associated health effects. Volatile organic compounds. Some are toxic air pollutants that cause cancer and other serious health problems, contribute to ozone formation with associated health effects. Mercury causes liver, kidney, and brain damage and neurological and developmental damage. Other toxic air pollutants cause cancer, immune system damage, and neurological, reproductive, developmental, respiratory, and other health problems. Some toxic air pollutants contribute to ozone and particle pollution with associated health effects. Next, coming to water pollution. Water pollution can be defined as the introduction of substances, that is pollutants, into the water bodies that affects the physical, chemical, and biological properties of water, which in turn decreases the utility of water and causes harmful effects to human health or to animals, plants, and the wider environment. If the concentration of substances naturally present in water increases, then also the water is said to be polluted. What are the water pollutants? Pathogens, suspended solids and sediments, inorganic pollutants, organic pollutants, nutrients and agricultural runoff, heat, that is thermal pollution, and radioactive pollutants. Pathogens. The pathogenic microorganisms enter into water body through sewage discharge as a major source or through the wastewater from industries like slaughterhouses. 4 major kinds of disease-causing agents are involved in water pollution. These are viruses, bacteria, protozoa, and parasitic worms. They can cause waterborne diseases such as cholera, typhoid, dysentery, polio, infectious hepatitis, etc. Suspended solids and sediments. Sediments result from soil erosion, agricultural development, strip mining, and construction activities. Suspended solids in water mainly comprise of silt, sand, and minerals eroded from the land. These appear in the water through the surface runoff during rainy season and through municipal sewers. Presence of suspended solids can block the sunlight penetration in the water, can impair the normal aquatic life, and affect the diversity of the aquatic ecosystem. Finer suspended solids such as silt and coal dust may injure the gills of fishes and cause asphyxiation. Inorganic pollutants include mineral acids, inorganic salts, metals, metal compounds, complexes of metals with organic compounds, cyanides, sulfates, trace elements, etc. The accumulation of heavy metals may have adverse effects on aquatic flora and fauna. These may translate into a public health problem due to human consumption of the contaminated organisms as food. Metals in high concentration, for example mercury, arsenic, cadmium, lead can be toxic to biota. When algal growth due to nitrogen and phosphorus compounds becomes abundant, low dissolved oxygen conditions can occur at night, causing fish and other sensitive organisms to die. Organic pollutants discharged in the water body through sewage and industrial waste. These are oxygen-demanding waste. These undergo degradation and decomposition and cause depletion of dissolved oxygen. It is a serious problem adversely affecting aquatic life if the level of dissolved oxygen in the water falls below 4 mg per liter. This decrease of dissolved oxygen is an index of pollution. Synthetic organic compounds is another type of organic pollutants. These include man-made materials such as synthetic pesticides, paints, synthetic detergents, food additives, plastics, pharmaceuticals, insecticides, synthetic fibers, solvents, and volatile organic compounds. Most of these compounds are potentially toxic to plants, animals, and humans. Even some of these, when present in trace amounts, may make water unfit for different uses. Polychlorinated biphenyls are complex mixtures of chlorobiphenyls. Being fat-soluble, they move readily through the environment and within the tissues or cells. Next is oil. Oil pollution reduces dissolved oxygen in water, responsible for endangering water birds and coastal plants due to coating with oils and adversely affecting their normal activities. Reduces the photosynthetic activity of the aquatic plants. Oil includes polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, some of which are known to be carcinogenic. Nutrients is another pollutants. The agricultural runoff, wastewater from fertilizer, industry, and sewage contains substantial concentration of nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. These waters supply nutrients to the plants and may stimulate the growth of algae and other aquatic weeds in receiving waters. In long run, water body reduces dissolved oxygen and leads to eutrophication. People swimming in eutrophic waters containing blue-green algae can have skin and eye irritation, gastroenteritis, and vomiting. High nitrogen levels in the water supply causes a potential risk, especially to infants under 6 months of age. In the body, nitrates are converted to nitrites. The nitrites react with hemoglobin in the red blood cells to form methemoglobin, affecting the blood's ability to carry enough oxygen to the cells of the body, and the condition is called methemoglobinemia or blue baby syndrome. Bottle-fed infants are particularly at risk. The condition is made worse by gastrointestinal infection. Heat is another water pollutant. Considerable thermal pollution results due to discharge of hot water from thermal power plants, nuclear power plants, and industries where water is used as coolant. As a result of hot water discharge, the temperature of water body increases, which reduces the dissolved oxygen content of the water, adversely affecting the aquatic life. When organic matter is also present, the bacterial action increases due to rise in temperature. It results in rapid decrease of dissolved oxygen. Radioactive pollutants is another type of water pollutant. Water can become contaminated with radioactive materials originating from abundant hazardous waste sites, mining and processing of ores, use in research, agriculture, medical and industrial activities such as iodine 131, phosphorus 32, cobalt 60, calcium 45, sulfur 35, carbon 14, etc. Radioactive discharge from nuclear power plants and nuclear reactors, for example, strontium 90, cesium 137, plutonium 239, uranium 238, uranium 235, uses and testing of nuclear weapons. These isotopes are toxic to the life forms. They accumulate in the bones and teeth and can cause serious disorders such as cancer, birth defects, or genetic damage. Coming to water pollution related diseases. Water pollution can affect us directly through consumption of contaminated water or through bathing in a polluted area, or indirectly by consuming produce that was irrigated with polluted water, or by eating fish or other animals that have been contaminated. Water-related diseases can be categorized as diseases due to microorganisms and chemicals in water people drink, diseases like schistosomiasis which have part of their life cycle in water, diseases like malaria with water-related vectors, others such as legionellosis carried by aerosols containing certain microorganisms, etc. A series of less serious health effects, for example, rashes, earaches, and pink eyes could be associated to bathing in contaminated water. Next is classification of water-related diseases. Waterborne microbiological diseases. These are diseases related to consumption of pathogens consumed in water, mostly due to human or animal fecal contamination of water. And the examples are cholera, diarrhea, typhoid, sigilosis, viral gastroenteritis, amoebiasis, giardiasis. Waterborne chemical diseases are diseases related to ingestion of toxic substances in water. Examples are arsenicosis from arsenic, fluorosis from fluoride, liver damage from chlorinated solvents, methyl tertiary butyl ether, kidney damage, neurological problems from pesticides such as DDT, reproductive and endocrine damage from endocrine disruptors, thyroid disorders from perchlorate, and Minamata disease from methyl mercury, and also cancer. Water hygiene diseases are diseases whose incidence, prevalence, or severity can be reduced by using safe, clean water to improve personal and domestic hygiene. And the examples are scabies, sigilosis, trachoma. Water contact diseases are diseases caused by skin contact with pathogen-infested water or with chemical contaminated water. And the examples are schistosomiasis and cyanobacteria. Water vector habitat diseases are diseases where vector lives all or part of its life in or adjacent to a water habitat. And the examples are malaria from mosquitoes, filariasis from mosquitoes, onchocerciasis from aquatic flies, schistosomiasis from snails, and trypanosomiasis from sissy flies. Excreta disposal diseases are diseases related to unsanitary disposal of human waste. And the examples are ascariasis, hookworm infections, amoebiasis, giardiasis, cholera, typhoid, dysentery, diarrhea, schistosomiasis, trachoma. Water aerosol diseases are diseases related to respiratory transmission where a water aerosol containing suspended pathogen enters airway, and the examples are legionellosis, Norwalk-like viral gastroenteritis. Coming to soil pollution. Soil pollution is defined as the buildup in soils of persistent toxic compounds, chemicals, salts, radioactive materials, or disease-causing agents which have adverse effects on plant growth and animal health. Soil pollution can be of three types: agricultural soil pollution by industrial effluents and solid waste, soil pollution due to urban activities. Soil pollution can be caused by some of the common contaminants like heavy metals, pesticides, solvents, and other man-made chemicals, lead, and oil spills. Soil pollution changes the natural environment of the soil, killing beneficial microorganisms and creating a pathogenic soil environment. Pollution in soil is associated with indiscriminate use of fertilizers, indiscriminate use of pesticides, insecticides and herbicides, dumping of large quantities of solid waste, deforestation and soil erosion. What are the soil pollutants? A soil pollutant is any factor which deteriorates the quality, texture and mineral content of the soil, or which disturbs the biological balance of the organisms in the soil. Pollution in soil has adverse effect on plant growth. Soil pollution is caused by the presence of man-made chemicals or other alteration in the natural soil environment. The most common chemicals involved are petroleum hydrocarbons, solvents, pesticides, lead, and other heavy metals. The occurrence of this phenomenon is correlated with the degree of industrialization and intensities of chemical usage. Common soil contaminants include heavy metals, asbestos, dioxins, and hazardous pesticides. What are the soil pollution related diseases? Soil can become polluted in different ways, such as seepage from a landfill, discharge of industrial waste into the soil, percolation of contaminated water into the soil, rupture of underground storage tanks, excess application of pesticide, herbicide or fertilizer, solid waste seepage, oil and fuel dumping. The concern over soil contamination stems primarily from health risks both of direct contact and from secondary contamination of water supplies. In general, many effects are common with those from water pollution. Soil pollution may cause a variety of health problems starting with headache, nausea, fatigue, skin rash, and or eye irritation and potentially resulting in more serious conditions, of which the most common soil pollution diseases include cancer, brain and nerve damage, kidney and liver disease. Children are particularly at risk. Other diseases may include malaria, cholera, dysentery, etc. In tropical regions where rainfall is heavy and raw sewage or contaminated water may mix with the soil that people and children come in direct contact with, malaria outbreaks are common. Soil pollution is closely linked to water pollution because when the soil is contaminated, it leaches into surface and groundwater, leading to the contamination of drinking water and an outbreak of waterborne diseases like cholera and dysentery. Soil pollution related diseases can also be contracted from water runoff containing chemicals and pose a potential threat to human health. As long as soil pollution exists from chemical irresponsibility and climatic disturbances caused by humans will remain vulnerable to diseases caused by soil pollution. Soil pollution may enter our bodies directly through inhalation of soil dust or soil particles, as well as through skin contact, or indirectly through consumption of food, for example, vegetables grown on contaminated soil, by inhaling toxic vapors of volatile chemicals polluting the soil. This table shows chemicals of major public health concern in relation to soils and their health effects. Arsenic. Intake of inorganic arsenic over a long period can lead to chronic arsenic poisoning or arsenicosis. Gastrointestinal tract, skin, heart, liver and neurological damage. Diabetes, bone marrow and blood diseases, cardiovascular disease. Arsenic is carcinogenic. Organic arsenic compounds are less harmful to health and are rapidly eliminated by the body. It also causes increased risk of miscarriage, stillbirth and preterm birth. Next is asbestos. Some inhaled asbestos fibers reach the lungs where they become lodged in lung tissue and may remain for many years. This causes parenchymal asbestosis, asbestos-related pleural abnormalities, lung carcinoma, pleural mesothelioma. Health effects may not emerge for decades, but lung cancer and pleural mesothelioma have high mortality rates. Historical occupational exposure from manufacturing and construction work is a common cause. Next is cadmium. It causes liver and kidney damage, low bone density. These symptoms are known as Itai-Itai disease. first identified when cadmium from mining in the Toyama prefecture of Japan led to high levels of cadmium in rice, which accumulated in local people. Diets poor in iron and zinc vastly increase the negative health effects of cadmium. Cadmium is also carcinogenic by inhalation. Dioxin. Dioxins are highly toxic and can cause reproductive and developmental problems, damage the immune system, interfere with hormones, and also cause cancer. Next is lead. Lead causes neurological damage, lowers IQ and attention, hand-eye coordination impaired, causes encephalopathy. Lead causes neurological damage, lowers IQ and attention, hand-eye coordination impaired, encephalopathy, bone deterioration, hypertension, and kidney disease. Mercury causes central nervous system and gastric system damage, affects brain development resulting in a lower IQ, affects coordination, eyesight, and sense of touch, liver, heart, and kidney damage, and it is teratogenic. Hazardous pesticides. Organic chemicals, including pesticides, have been linked to a wide range of health problems, but we tend to be exposed to a cocktail of these chemicals at low levels. Conclusive proof of cause and effect in humans is challenging. Lastly, prevention and control of pollution. It is possible by prevention and control of air pollution, prevention and control of water pollution, and prevention and control of soil pollution. Prevention and control of air pollution. It can be categorized into prevention and control of outdoor air pollution and prevention and control of indoor air pollution. The measures under prevention and control of outdoor air pollution are measures to reduce industrial pollution by use of cleaner fuels such as liquefied natural gas in power plants, fertilizer plants, etc. Employing energy efficient technology such as Energy Star qualified products in power plants. Employing environment friendly industrial processes. Installing devices like filters, electrostatic precipitators, inertial collectors, scrubbers, gravel bed filters, or dry scrubbers which reduce release of pollutants. Increasing the height of chimneys. Closing industries that pollute the environment. Shifting of polluting industries away from cities and heavily populated areas. Development and maintenance of green belt of adequate width. Prevention and control of outdoor air pollution also includes measures to reduce vehicular pollution by use of alternative fuels like compressed natural gas in public transport vehicles, phasing out of old vehicles, driving fuel efficient vehicles can reduce the amount of carbon dioxide, ozone, and particulates in the air. Use of unleaded petrol, use of low sulfur petrol and diesel, use of catalytic converters in vehicles, application of stringent pollution level norms for vehicles, etc. Outdoor air pollution exposures can be reduced by checking air quality index, avoiding heavy traffic when possible, and avoiding second-hand tobacco smoke. Next, prevention and control of indoor air pollution. First, interventions on the source of pollution by using alternative fuels and improved stoves. The largest reductions in indoor air pollution can be achieved by switching from solid fuels, that is biomass, coal, to cleaner and more efficient fuels and energy technologies such as liquid petroleum gas, biogas, producer gas, electricity, and solar power. In poor rural communities where access to alternative fuels is very limited and biomass remains the most practical fuel, pollution levels can be lowered significantly by using improved stoves. Next is interventions to the living environment. Improved ventilation of the cooking and living area can contribute significantly to reduce exposure to smoke. There are a number of ways to achieve better ventilation of the living environment, including chimneys, smoke hoods, eave spaces, enlarged and repositioned windows, that is cooking window. Next is interventions to user behavior. Changes in user behavior can also play a role in reducing pollution and exposure levels. For example, drying fuel wood before use improves combustion and decreases smoke production. Keeping young children away from smoke reduces exposure of these most vulnerable. Next is interventions to user behavior. Changes in user behavior can also play a role in reducing pollution and exposure levels. For example, drying fuel wood before use improves combustion and decreases smoke production. Keeping young children away from smoke reduces exposure of this most vulnerable age group to health-damaging pollutants. Such changes in user behavior are unlikely to bring about reductions as large as those expected from a fuel switch or the installation of a hood or chimney. However, they should be seen as important supporting measures for other interventions. Natural measures. Self-purification comprises a series of physical and biochemical processes. Physical processes include dilution, sedimentation, aeration, and ultraviolet irradiation. Biochemical processes include oxidation and reduction. Biochemical process of purification is carried out by aerobic and anaerobic bacteria and also by protozoa, algae, and several aquatic animal species normally present in water. Self-purification of water is a time-consuming process that lasts for several months. The pace of purification is reflected by the biochemical oxygen demand of water, or BOD. BOD is the amount of oxygen required by a water body for complete stabilization of organic matter by aerobic process of nitrification. Next is engineering measures. These include treatment of community waste, treatment of industrial effluents, recycling of industrial effluents, and incineration of toxic matter. Community waste can be treated by conventional methods of sewage disposal followed by safe discharge of effluent into a water course. In case of industrial effluents, in addition to the conventional primary and secondary treatment, these need a tertiary treatment for detoxification. Recycling of industrial effluents done when toxic or are expensive to treat. Incineration of toxic matter. When industrial effluents are toxic, bioresistant, and difficult to treat, they could be disposed of by burning. Next is educational measures. Education of people on water pollution, its impact on human health, and the urgency of preventing it can facilitate prevention and control of water pollution at all levels, that is community, industrial, and agricultural levels. And last but not the least, legal measures are very important. To protect water, a precious resource, a stringent enforcement system meant for its conservation, sanitation, and supply is needed. Environmental laws are meant to set standards for what people and institutions must do to control or prevent environmental pollution, including water. Next is prevention and control of soil pollution. By reducing chemical fertilizer and pesticide use, applying biofertilizers and manures can reduce chemical fertilizer and pesticide use. Biological methods of pest control can also reduce the use of pesticides and thereby minimize soil pollution. Second is by reusing materials. Materials such as glass containers, plastic bags, paper, cloth, etc. can be reused at domestic levels rather than being disposed and thereby reduce solid waste pollution. Next is by recycling and recovery of materials. This is a reasonable solution for reducing soil pollution. Materials such as paper, some kinds of plastics and glass are being recycled. This decreases the volume of refuse and helps in the conservation of natural resources. For example, recovery of 1 ton of paper can save 17 trees. Next option is reforesting. Control of land loss and soil erosion can be attempted through restoring forest and grass cover to check wastelands, soil erosion and floods. Crop rotation or mixed cropping can improve the fertility of the land. Next is solid waste treatment. Proper method should be adopted for management of solid waste disposal. Industrial waste can be treated physically, chemically and biologically until they are less hazardous. Acidic and alkaline waste should be neutralized first. The insoluble material, if biodegradable, should be allowed to degrade under controlled conditions before being disposed. As a last resort, new areas for storage of hazardous waste should be investigated, such as deep well injection and more secure landfills. Burying the waste in locations situated away from residential areas is the simplest and most widely used technique of solid waste management. Environmental and aesthetic considerations must be taken into consideration before selecting the dumping sites. Incineration of other waste is expensive and leaves a huge residue and adds to air pollution. Pyrolysis is a process of combustion in absence of oxygen or the material burnt under controlled atmospheric oxygen. Pyrolysis is a process of combustion in absence of oxygen or the material burnt under controlled atmosphere of oxygen. It is an alternative to incineration. The gas and liquid thus obtained can be used as fuel. So, to summarize, environmental pollution is an undesirable byproduct of urbanization and industrialization. There are different types of pollution, that is air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution, radiation pollution, etc. The agents directly or indirectly responsible for the pollution of the environment are known as pollutants. Exposure to environmental pollution remains a major source of health risks throughout the world. It poses continuing risk to health. The risks are generally higher in developing countries. Children and the elderly are particularly susceptible to health effects from the pollutants. In many cases, exposure to pollution has a cumulative effect on the body. The resultant health risks include diseases in almost all organ systems. Air pollution can be separated into two categories, that is outdoor air pollution and indoor air pollution. Air pollutants are usually classified into suspended particulate matter, those are dust, fumes, mist and smokes, and gaseous pollutants like gases and vapors, those are carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, etc. The most common illnesses are respiratory and lung diseases, including asthma attacks, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or COPD, reduced lung function, pulmonary cancer, mesothelioma, pneumonia, bronchitis, emphysema, leukemia, birth defects and immune system defects, cardiovascular problems, heart diseases and stroke, neurobehavioral disorders, liver and other types of cancers, and premature death. The various types of water pollutants include pathogens, suspended solids and sediments, inorganic pollutants, organic pollutants, nutrients and agricultural runoff, heat and radioactive pollutants. Water pollution related diseases can be categorized as waterborne microbiological diseases like cholera, diarrhea, typhoid, viral gastroenteritis, waterborne chemical diseases like arsenicosis, fluorosis, water hygiene diseases like scabies, water contact diseases like schistosomiasis, water vector habitat diseases like malaria, excreta disposal diseases like ascariasis and water aerosol diseases like legionellosis. Soil pollution can be of three types, that is, agricultural soil pollution, pollution by industrial effluents and solid waste, and soil pollution due to urban activities. Common soil contaminants include heavy metals, asbestos, dioxins, and hazardous pesticides. The most common soil pollution-related diseases of serious nature include cancer, brain and nerve damage, kidney and liver disease. Children are particularly at risk. Pollution-related diseases can be prevented and controlled by preventing air, water, and soil pollution in general. The effective measures include reducing waste, reducing exposure to toxins like mercury, selecting a fuel-efficient vehicle, and maintaining the old vehicle, reducing energy consumption at home or office, establishing green belts between industrial and residential areas, etc. Thanks for visiting EPG Pathshala and listening to this module.